Good evening. This is the May 6, 2021 meeting of the Select Board of Bolton. First on our agenda is a request for approval of the Bear Hill Triathlon for August 6, 2021. Sue Redick is with us.
Yes.
Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, so the Bear Hill Triathlon, we actually have 3 proposed dates. The 6th is an error. So it's the same road as before, where we come down Harvard Road to Green Road to Bear Hill Road. It takes about half an hour of time, maybe 8:15 to 8:45. And the dates we are hoping to get permits for would be all Sundays, June 27th or August 8th or October 3rd.
Oh, Bob, you're muted.
Yeah, it appears you have permission. This has been reviewed by Chief Nelson and he's okay with it.
Right.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Any other questions?
Oh, I have a, before you say that, when the governor opened up the state to have races, we will have to submit a plan to the Board of Health. So it'll be then shown by the Associated Boards of Health. And if you have anything specific you want in that, otherwise it's going to be what the state is asking us. You know, it'll be as far as like staggered starts and masks and sanitizing stations and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Nothing specific. No. Okay, it'll be. No. I will submit that to you. You also when we get it back from Neshoba.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the Bear Hill Triathlon?
Make a motion, we approve the Bear Hill Triathlon on Sunday, August 8th or other dates, 2021.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Roll call, Wysocki,
Aye.
Keep,
Aye.
Sikansky.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'd just like to ask everyone a question. I've got a dog chewing on a bone back here and it sounds noisy to me. Is it noisy to everybody else?
Nope.
No? Okay, good. Good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. See you this summer sometime or fall.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Next up is a request for approval of the Bolton Community Fund 5K road race at Shartner Farm, October 9th. Lisa Sheppel.
I don't think Lisa's on yet, but I'm also on the board at Mary Jo White.
Okay.
So I can
Welcome.
kind of start and Lisa can add when she comes on. So
Okay.
we're planning an event on November 9th. It's our major fundraiser to support all the projects we do during the year. It'll start at 11 o'clock with a 5K race. And then we'll have a kids race and what we're calling as a festival, which will go from like 12 to 2 o'clock. That will have vendors, 1 or 2 food carts, projects for the kids to do crafts, and also they can go through the corn maze. So we're trying to use the 5K as also a community event to encourage more people who are not runners, but who love Bolton and love the fall and going to come to some kind of a festival.
Okay. I didn't see anything about this being reviewed by the police.
Lisa has spoken with the police chief about
We
it.
actually got something from Don relative to that, Bob.
We did? Okay.
Yeah.
Has it been approved by the police department?
Yes, it was. It did receive a preliminary approval. This was the attachment with the memo from the chief where he recommended that during the pandemic, all events that the selectmen are approved should consider that a safety plan needs to be submitted to Officer Dufresne and also with the Board of Health as the previous Ms. Redick mentioned.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm willing to conditionally approve it based on getting those other approvals.
Sounds good.
I'll second that.
Okay, I guess I made a motion there. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Roll call, Wysocki,
Aye.
Keep,
Aye.
Sikansky.
Aye,
Thank you.
thank you. Good luck with that, Ms. White.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Next, we have approval for a sign at 9 Manor Road. Joan Biscieri, did I say that correctly? Are you muted?
How about that?
That's fine.
Okay, Vicari is the last name.
Okay, Bakari.
Mr. Chairman, 1 second. Joan Bashari is a neighbor of mine and I'm a butter, so I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay, thank you. So go ahead, tell us about the sign and the reasons for it. I know you sent us some drawings of it.
I sent you more than drawings. I sent you the final preparation done by Ken Duval. So you should have all the specifics, what is on it, the measurements, and in my application, the distances between me and my neighbors and those things you asked for.
We have that in the packet, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, yeah, okay. And has this been approved by the building inspector?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
No, actually, this, if I may interrupt, this is the first step in the building permit process, is a selectman approval.
Okay,
As soon as you grant the approval, the application will start the workflow and get the various approvals from the planning department, the Board of Health, DPW, and finally the building inspector.
okay, okay. Stan, do you have any questions?
No, but it seems kind of odd that we're going in that direction. I mean, it's really, I understand that's the process, but it really should be, the building inspector should take a look at it first before it comes to us. I mean, because we may approve something that doesn't fit. So anyway,
Actually-
I don't have any problem with it, but I think we should look at the flow and change that for the next one. But I'm
Okay.
fine.
I think the intention is that there's a permit application fee with the building permit application, and we wouldn't want to charge a fee if it's a sign that's not appropriate for the town, but we could certainly look at that.
Okay, I'm fine with it.
I want you to know that I did speak with Mike Savageau first, because that's what I was told was the process. So I did have conversation with him and he suggested I speak with you, that he said there would be no problem with the sign.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll move to approve the sign at 9 Manor Road.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye,
Aye.
And I thank you.
thank you.
Good
Roll
luck.
call. Roll call. Do I include Jonathan in this roll call? Where he,
Yes. You have to
Recuse
record
himself?
his
even for a recusal?
He
Okay.
recused
Lisa.
himself. No, I don't think
You
so.
record the abstention.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
Oh, no, you're right.
Um,
He recused himself, so so the vote will go down as 2-0.
right.
Okay. So roll call, Wysocki,
Aye,
Sikansky.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Many thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is an update from Tom Laughlin about the MassWorks grant application and a report out of their informational meeting from April 29th.
Good evening. Jenny, first off, we had a presentation last week on the intersections. I'm able to quickly go through that presentation for you. Or I could, I think it would help maybe for some folks who maybe didn't attend, or just to kind of, keep up with what we proposed. And I'm not sure if Randy's on and whether he wants to kind of open up the presentation. Jenny, I think you have the presentation if the board would like to do it that way.
Yeah, I think you should do it as a baseline for everybody, so we're all on the same page as we go into discussions.
Okay. And I can go
That
through it
sounds- that
a
sounds
little
good.
bit faster and leave the presentation up on your website for a later date if folks want to look at some
Okay.
details.
Good.
All right, I guess I'll begin. Hopefully my voice will last during the very quick presentation. As Tom mentioned, we had a informational session last Thursday. It was pretty well attended. It was, I think, over 20 participants who participated in the Zoom video conference, and we received an awful lot of questions. It lasted about an hour and 3/4 almost, I think. So it was, I thought it was very productive. We heard from an awful lot of residents. It was great. I think everybody's familiar with the intersection. Jenny, next slide. I'm going to go pretty fast through these sections here. I think everybody's pretty much familiar with the intersection. One of the biggest challenges with this intersection is its geometry, the way Green Road comes in at a acute angle, meets with Main Street. Forbush Road is across the street, but offset. Traffic volume, as you all know, is pretty significant, greater than 20,000 vehicle trips per day. Speed is a perceived problem on this section of roadway as well. While school is in session, the entrance and egress out of the school property also adds additional congestion and activity at the intersection. 117 is a commuter connection between Route 2, 190, and 495. And right now, there's virtually no pedestrian accommodation at the intersection for walkers or bicyclists trying to cross Main Street on 117. Jenny, next slide, please. Very quickly, we all know what MassWorks is. We had a very successful project downtown at Main Street and Wattaquatic. We submitted a application for this intersection in 2020. It did not make the funding round. Tom and I sat through a session with the reviewers and went through our application, made suggestions on ways to improve it so that it becomes more competitive with a lot of the other projects that are submitted. This program that we're participating in is a very competitive state application program, and they don't fund every project, and it's very competitive. It's very popular. Earlier this year, we submitted an expression of interest to the state for this application, and we just got comments back saying that we were invited to apply the actual application, and the formal application is due at the beginning of June. Next slide, Jenny, please. What are the major concerns, issues, and challenges with this intersection? Obviously, public safety is the biggest concern. Pedestrians, school students, and vehicular traffic. At this intersection, there are multiple turning movements on the roadway. There's Main, Forbush, Green, school entrances. You have traffic coming in and out of Classic Pizza, the real estate office, the post office, which is a higher volume at certain times of the year, certain times of the day. All of those things together create like a perfect storm at this intersection. And it just makes it a very non-functional intersection. The goal of this project is to improve the intersection functionality and improve the safety for not only pedestrians, but vehicular traffic and vehicles entering from the side roads and traveling through. Jenny, next slide, please. Again, the goal of this project is to make the intersection safer for pedestrians and vehicles, to improve the intersection functionality for all users of the intersection, being bicycles, pedestrians, and vehicles. There are three possible solutions that we've thought about. First one is obviously do nothing, which is not really a solution, but it's kind of sticking your head in the sand and hoping the problem goes away, which I don't think is going to happen with this intersection. There's a signalization of the intersection, and that includes the construction of sidewalks throughout and pedestrian crossing lights to permit pedestrians to cross the intersection. And the third possible solution is a roundabout, which likewise with a signalized intersection includes the construction of sidewalks. And there's always a concern with roundabouts and the pedestrian interaction and maneuvering through the roundabout. Same thing with bicyclists, on how do bicyclists maneuver through and compete essentially with the vehicles going through the roundabout. And a lot of those issues are addressed in the design of the particular roundabout for the intersection. Next slide, please. Here's a couple of quick slides of this intersection that we're all, I think, very familiar with. This intersection is a big, wide, expansive pavement area with traffic coming in and a bunch of different directions. There's a little island at the intersection of Green and 117. It's paved on each side of there. There's a lot of turning activity. Next slide, please, Jenny. There's an awful lot of curb cuts in a very short distance of this roadway. You look at Classic Pizza, it's like one big, huge curb cut. There's no definition of ways in and out of their parking area. Driveway widths are also, excuse me, a concern in this intersection as well, especially, again, Classic Pizza and the combined driveway they have with the apartment building at the rear of the Classic Pizza. Jenny, next slide, please. Right now, at the intersection, there is no accommodation for sidewalks or bicycles. I mean, there's no sidewalks for pedestrians or bicycle accommodation. It's kind of pretty much I walked 117 a few weeks ago, and I took my life in my own hands, I think, walking up towards Goose Pond. People go fast, it's dangerous, there's not much of a shoulder. In a lot of places it's virtually non-existent. And last slide, please, Jenny. And there's a lack of crosswalks, especially as the sidewalk exits the school property. And we understand that certain times of the year, they have functions, football, things like that. There's students and others that do cross the road, go over to the pizza place. We also did meet with the school resource officer, the principal, and the facilities manager at the school district. And I guess that is a common occurrence pretty much even during the week. Students will get out of school at the end of the day and run across and pick up something to eat at Classic Pizza and then go back for practice or whatever they have for an afternoon activity. Next slide, Jenny. I'm going to turn it now over to Tom, who can get a little bit deeper into each of the individual possible solutions for the intersection.
Okay, thanks, Randy. So as Randy mentioned, we looked at essentially two options in making changes here. One being this traffic signal concept. Running horizontal on that slide is Route 117 going east to west. Then Forbush Mill Road on the lower portion and Green Road on the upper portion of 117. Essentially, we are maintaining single lane of traffic in each direction. However, at the intersection, we would propose left turn lanes that would allow drivers to wait safely, and the driver behind them to, in a sense, use a bypass lane to move around them while they have the green signal. Pretty similar to what was built and constructed down at Wattaquatic Road, where it allows for that the person making the left to kind of wait safely and not feel pressured from the line that might be forming behind them and stuff. I think one other change that would be a safety improvement is when traveling westbound and turning right onto Green Road. That small access lane there or cutoff road, that would only be one way. So only drivers traveling westbound turning right onto Green Road would access that. Currently, some drivers traveling south on Green Road and taking a left use that in a two-way direction, and they make their left turn from that. We would eliminate that in order to bring them up to the signal and wait for their turn and their phase to make the turn. Within the plan, we are accommodating and providing the width that would be necessary for bicycle accommodations and sidewalks. Sidewalks could be connected to some of the existing sidewalk infrastructure that's there, being the school, and also there's a small path kind of that passes in front of the between the DPW building and Route 117. There could be more sidewalks on the Classic Pizza side. That is something that we can adjust. But the accommodation of the bikes would be only to allow the width of the pavement and not to put the actual markings on the pavement right now until the town builds a larger network of infrastructure Similar again to what we did at Wattaquatic, the 5-foot lane is there. There is no markings in it, so someone can use it, but it is not designated to, let's say, give someone the illusion that they have a much longer path in front of them if they were to enter into it. Next slide, Jenny. Some of the things about the signal, very similar to Wattaquatic. We would use video detection for the approaches. It would have emergency vehicle preemption equipment. We would use the protected and permitted phases for the left turn. On the peak periods, the signal would cycle between Main Street and the side streets based on the actuation detected from the video. And during the off-peak period, so in the late at night, very, very early in the morning, the signal would remain green on Main Street, and only the side streets would only activate when detected. Next slide, Jenny. Some advantages to this are easier, safer side street access onto Main Street, emergency preemption, so the fire department can control as they approach this signal to turn it green, clear the traffic, make their way through, and an exclusive protected pedestrian phase, meaning a pedestrian coming to this signal would press a button, traffic would stop, and the pedestrian would make their move go across the roadway. Some of the challenges, but I think we've handled them, are the truck bus turns, the left turns, because of the alignment of the roadway of green and forebush. We would have to do what we refer to as a lead and a lag, where one side would get the green arrow for the left turn first, as the directional traffic got green, and on the other side they would wait until the through movement happened before they got their green. So just everyone's seen those types of things on different signals. It's just kind of a learned thing, and paying attention to what the signal's telling you. Because of the skew and because of that lead lag, there would be slightly longer yellow and red times, and we're talking seconds, not talking any great measure. Jenny, next slide, please. So our second concept that we looked at is a roundabout concept. So roundabouts, I will refer to this as a modern roundabout, so that we differentiate between this and a rotary. A rotary more being like what you might pass through as you go to Cape Cod, and a roundabout would be more very extremely similar to the design that's at Route 2 and 70 in Lancaster, as well as a brand new roundabout that's been put into downtown Hudson. So two kind of local spots that people may be familiar with. The design is based on a concept that as the drivers enter into the circle in the middle, they would be deflected, and that deflection of the slight kind of bend, as you can kind of see in the gray and green, conflicting colors there, would slow the driver down. They would enter in and merge with traffic that's already in the circle, proceed around the rotary to their exit, and then come out of the circle. This rotary is designed to decrease the speed of the driver entering and to maintain a speed of approximately 25 miles an hour around the circle. One characteristic about this is the pedestrians do not have that protected phase. However, when they do cross, as they cross in these median from one side of the street to the other, there's a median area inside that green colored area in front of Classic Pizza and in between Classic Pizza and the school. Pedestrian would only have to evaluate one direction of traffic, looking to their left as they came over from the high school. They would come across to an island, a refuge area, and they would make that looking to their right. They would make that same decision of traffic only in one direction, and then they would come across to the other side of the street at Classic Pizza. The deflection islands, the longer green and kind of yellow markings along 117, the green area is raised with sloped or vertical granite curbing, so vehicles cannot cross that area, and the lane width narrows a little bit down to about 11 feet, again causing that driver to slow down, trying to navigate that geometry before they enter the circle. A major issue with this is that we would need to reconfigure how we access the property at Classic Pizza. On the bottom of the, let's say, left-hand quadrant of this, you'll see a kind of a line that parallels the roadway, kind of follows the curve, and then heads down Bush Mill Road. That is the town's layout line. So you own everything between that and the other similar line on the high school side. So there is some area in there to kind of reconfigure a driveway that would still provide access to Classic Pizza, but they would not be able to make that left until they got up to around where the other two driveways are. Maybe an entrance off of Bush Mill is something that could happen, but we'd have to look at some property ownerships there as well. I think that's the biggest difference geometry-wise and restriction-wise. The next slide, Jenny. Some advantages here are, so again, as we slow those vehicles down and we bring them into the roundabout, many people feel that it is safer and easier to cross in this roundabout. The only probably subset of folks who have difficulty with that are a person who is blind, a person with low vision, someone who depends on the noise and that traffic level to try to determine the direction of traffic and whether it's coming or leaving. And in a roundabout, that's difficult to do because the traffic is so close to you, and they aren't able to judge that as well. That can also be somewhat of a comfort level thing of, I would say some users may feel that they just want traffic to stop for them, and that would be a more comfortable crossing for them, but it's more of a personal thing. There are fewer conflict points being areas where an accident could occur. There are 32 conflict points within a signalized intersection, and there are only 8 conflict points inside of a roundabout. Traffic management, the traffic is slower, but it is steady in its progression. So everyone has to yield. During peak period, the queue can get slightly longer, but everyone does have to yield into it. Trucks and buses could easily make this turn, slower speeds. The 2-stage pedestrian crossing we talked about, coming across one lane, stopping a second lane, and it does accommodate the less comfortable bike rider could leave the road, leave the bike lane, get up onto a shared path, kind of sidewalk, make the crossings like a pedestrian would, and then get back onto the bike trail. And we've provided for that space here, but until you build the bike infrastructure, it's not necessarily going to be used right away. The challenges, driveway connections like I talked about, longer queues during commuter peak traffic, though those queues do dissipate rather quickly with a roundabout because it's continuously moving. And the unsignalized pedestrian crossing, again, kind of a personal opinion thing in some ways. I have encouraged people to get out and try different roundabout locations to be a pedestrian user and judge that for themselves. Next slide, Jenny. Just quickly, MassDOT has an extensive handbook on roundabout and conceptual design. They run through some of the very same advantages, disadvantages. I'll kind of leave this to people to catch up to either here or online at MassDOT's website. And next slide, Jenny, I think is the same, continues with some of these. And then we took questions from that. Now, I was given a message that the board was interested in the size of what we are proposing here in relation to the roundabout that is out at Route 70 and Route 2. And I have looked at that. Jenny has a graphic that hopefully we can put up there. I might have given her a file format that is a little crazy, but I think she's solved that problem. So in general, roundabouts are generally built around what they call the inner and outer diameter of a circle. And Jenny, if you can zoom in on that a little bit, I think it would help folks to kind of see what we're looking at here. So we took an orthographic projection of the Lancaster Route 2 area and showed, I think people are familiar with this. This is a roundabout that was built at the access ramps, access and egress ramps for Route 2 off of Route 70. And then over it, we placed the roundabout that we designed or proposed at Route 117. The roundabout at 117 and Forbush Mill Road is the outer diameter circle, meaning the curb line to curb line outer diameter. The total diameter is smaller. It is 120 feet, and that's a standard roundabout size. The one at Route 2 and Route 70 is 130 feet for the roadway outer circle. The two inner circles are approximately the same. The one we are showing is 64 feet, and the diameter that they are showing is 70 feet. The difference here is that this rotary, other than two pedestrian crossings, which I really don't know why they're there because they don't go anywhere except to the signal cabinet or lighting cabinet, I guess it is. There are no sidewalks here. So when we add sidewalks and the accommodation for bicyclists to get through or around the roundabout, our outer dimension of construction would actually be about 4 feet larger. Now those 10 feet may be significant. It would certainly seem significant in a 10 by 10 room. But when you're driving this, I don't think I could tell whether the diameter of the circle is 120 or 130. It's just not, you're not going to be able to recognize that. You're going to be able to comfortably drive it in both cases. It's just not going to be something you're going to be able to see. I think what you are going to see, though, is kind of the clear area that it would take to build these. And I would call that the same. For the distances we're talking about, the roundabout would be the same size as this Route 70 location. The Hudson location is exactly the same size as we're proposing. The difference is there are vertical elements, buildings, other things at the back of the sidewalk, and it changes the perspective of how large or small that looks. So I believe the topography here and the landscape better matches what's at Route 117. And I think the visual of this is how big your roundabout would feel. So hopefully that kind of gives you some perspective. I hope you're familiar with this one, have driven this one. I've actually suggested people go up and walk with this one, and I sorry I have, because there is no place to go and there's no way to get there. I hope they went down and tried to experience Hudson, though. So with that, be available for some questions. I think Randy would be too, and whatever we can help you with to I think what we should explain too is, as Randy and I went through the process, one of the big suggestions they made a number of them for us, was that we formalize a process to kind of go through get some public support, make sure people understand this project, and for the board to possibly take a vote and recommend, a solution. With that, we can then put a better price estimate on this. We can submit an application that shows you've gone through a process, you have support, you know how much it's going to cost, you know your impacts, what they look at is right-of-way utilities, those types of things. We have very few barriers here, so we have a very clean application, and we've done what they've asked in the sense of some preliminary design and a public process. So that's why we've kind of formalized this one as much as we have, and we think with that, it was probably the biggest thing that they felt was missing. They thought it was a very strong application, but this was the biggest thing they could find that was missing.
So one question I would have is to Randy, clearing this in winter, presumably the roundabout where the cars are going to drive is going to be just regular pavement, but the part of the diameter, as I understand it, is going to be rough and elevated to accommodate trucks. And are we going to be able to clear snow and do other things with the existing resources that we have?
The design that's proposed is pretty common to have that truck apron, and it's handled in a lot of other communities. I don't anticipate having significant issues with it. One of the things I will have to check, I didn't realize the travel width was only about 11 feet wide. That gets pretty narrow. I think we may have an 11-foot plow that utilizes, that plow is 117. I just have to, check equipment size, but that's all things that we can finish out in the design of the
we can adjust
project.
Okay.
Hi, Randy. This is Tyler DeRuda with Beta Group, if I may. So the travel lane in that section would be 11 feet, but we would have a shoulder on top of that. So you should be able to get the plow, no problem.
Yep. So there
Okay.
you go. Yep.
Thank you, Tyler.
Selectmen have any other questions?
No, just a comment. I travel Route 70 and go through that roundabout that's close to Route 2. And quite frankly, I don't think that roundabout is even adequate for that intersection. And there's certainly a lot less traffic that traverses that. And it's certainly slower speeds in at least 3 of the directions coming over the bridge and the 2 accessory roads. Obviously, it's a little faster coming up Route 70. But that roundabout, in my view, is extremely small. And we're proposing to put basically the same size roundabout in a location that's going to have a significantly greater volume. If you also go up to that roundabout, you will see the tire marks of 18-wheelers up on the roundabout portion of that, because the trucks have a difficulty, especially the large ones, navigating that, and they're going up on that. You'll see black rubber tire marks all over that place. Quite frankly, given the amount of traffic that we have, and the fact that roundabout's basically the same size as the one at Route 70, Route 2, I find that would be completely inadequate. I mean, if we could put the one in Hudson that's closer to the Chevy dealer and CVS, which is 2 lanes and much wider, that would be much, I think, a much better solution. But obviously, we don't have the room there. So I am absolutely not in favor of the roundabout. I think the traffic lights provide, I think, better safety. I think it provides a better venue for the kids who are going to be crossing from the high school, and for all of the reasons that I can see that it would be problematic, given that we have that roundabout up at Route 70, Route 2, and you can just see that it's not adequate for the volume of traffic that they have. I can't support the roundabout at 117. I would certainly prefer the traffic lights.
Yeah, I'd like to speak in favor of the roundabout as a driver and also as a pedestrian. I've found them to be actually easier to use. And I've also marveled at how they calm traffic in the neighborhoods where they're installed. It's much less of the, cars screeching to a stop or speeding up to get through a yellow light. There's just a gentle slowing of traffic that makes you feel safe to cross busy roads and also driving through. So I'm in favor of the roundabout.
Yeah, my initial reaction right now is I would prefer the roundabout. I would prefer it for these reasons. First off, I agree with Stan that there's a lot of trucks that drive right over the elevated portion of the roundabout on Route 70. But what I see in this plan that was shown tonight, and I don't see on the Route 70 roundabout, is road, things on the side of the road and in the center of the road that are going to force people to slow down before they get to the roundabout. I believe a lot of those trucks come upon that thing suddenly, and they've really got no choice but to drive across the center part there. I think the significance of adding barriers and guides that slow traffic down to 25 miles per hour has repercussions far beyond that particular intersection to all the traffic that's going through Bolton. I would also have a problem with stoplights for these reasons. If we have a four-way stop there, particularly during commuting time and during when school is letting out, the light's going to turn. There's going to be traffic backups, possibly all the way down to Fox Run Road. There's going to be traffic backups. The light will turn green, but nobody can leave the parking lot of the high school until the traffic clears. But by the time the traffic clears on the eastbound side, the westbound traffic will be down at that intersection, and the SRO is going to stop that traffic 100 yards after it got started in order to let the school buses and other traffic out if that's going eastbound. So I think that kind of defeats the whole purpose of promoting traffic when you're locking it up. I think during bad commuter times, the same thing is going to happen down at Fox Run, where people who want to go eastbound on 117 will not be able to come out of Fox Run during commuter hours, because the traffic with a stoplight will be backed up all the way down to there. And once again, by the time traffic starts to clear there, the traffic that was being held up westbound will be arriving at Fox Run, and the people at Fox Run will still not be able to pull out and get into the travel lanes. I think there is a likelihood of people trying to speed up to beat the lights if at the intersection there, which makes it less safe for people trying to cross from the high school. And it just seems to me that the roundabout, with the traffic calming, with the ability to keep things moving at all times, is the safer and more reliable solution to the problems that we face at that intersection. Anybody have anything else? All right, what would you like the selectmen to do now then?
I can make a motion unless anybody wants to speak from the public. Okay, so I'll make a motion to support the MassWorks grant application and approve the roundabout design for the final design choice.
I will second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Support the project, but I totally disagree with the solution. So I do not support the solution of a roundabout.
Okay. Roll call?
Roll call. Did you want to have separate votes or continue?
It's all one
Roll
vote.
call as this vote? Okay. Roll call, Waisaki,
Nay.
Keep,
Aye.
Sikansky.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Do you need anything else from us, Randy and Tom? Randy, you're
Andy,
muted.
Thank you for your time this evening.
yeah,
All right.
I think we're all set. We have our direction on the application, so we're good.
All right, thank you. And I did view a recording of the Thursday night meeting. It was very well done. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you, Tom and
That was great.
Randy. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it was
Randy.
a
Thank you,
great
Tom.
meeting. I really appreciated the questions we received from the residents in Bolton. They really understood the concepts and had great questions. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Take care.
Good night.
Take care. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is an update from Woods Partners on a proposed 40B proposal and a local initiative program with the town of Bolton. Is Jim Lambert here?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Chair, members of the board. Good to see you again. Thanks for having me. Mr. Chair, tonight I know we've gone through the presentation at length a couple of times. And when we met last, there was a lot of discussion in Q&A. I think tonight we're just going to run through, we have, I think, 4 slides quickly by way of an update, and then putting out some information on our community meeting that we're going to be hosting next week. So if I may, I'd like to run through those slides briefly, and then I'll leave it up to the board as to where you want to take it from there, whether that's more Q&A or public comment or both. But our presentation tonight is brief.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, if I can share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Great. Okay, as you all know, we're discussing tonight the project that we're calling Alta Neshoba Valley, located at 580 Main Street, which is behind the Bolton Office Park. This is the site plan that we are moving forward with for the application to DHCD. So this is what you've seen before with just some very slight variations that I'm going to go through in a minute. We have flipped the plan so that you're looking at it coming in from Main Street this time, as opposed to the other way around. I think how we showed it in the past, and we think this is a kind of a better depiction of what it looks like. Obviously, we're showing it with some color for the first time in terms of greenery and where the parking goes, et cetera. So just as a quick reminder, we've got 4 residential buildings, 2 in the U shape, and then 2 rectangular buildings behind those. We've got 3 garage buildings that are obviously much smaller and are depicted in the orange color, if that's the way it looks on your screen. And then we have a clubhouse along the entry drive as you come in with the associated pool, hardscape, and amenities. And one thing which I'll reiterate in a minute when I get to a few more slides back is we have the only real substantive change is we've eliminated the 4 townhomes that were being shown along the entry drive. And we replaced that with a much smaller mail and package building that is conveniently located as residents will drive in up the entry drive. We think for a couple of reasons. One, it just didn't really fit there, number one, and we also felt like we really wanted to put a really strong location for particularly packages, which are just dominant in the world these days, and we get so many of them. We wanted that to be in the right location and be large enough to service the residents of the building. Quick summary of where we're at, and this is all included in the application, obviously, but in a summary version, we are now with the elimination of the townhomes, we're down to 229 units, down from 233 when we last showed you. Our unit mix has largely stayed the same. It's been adjusted a little bit as we've evolved the buildings. We've got 88 1-bedroom, 1-bath units. 117 two-bedroom units, and that's a mix of 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and 2-bedroom, 1-bath, with the vast majority of those being 2 baths. And then the 24 3-bedroom units, which are the requirement under the 40B program. In terms of parking, we have been able to find extra parking. So I think that's always a good thing. We were comfortable with the ratio that we were at before, but obviously we think in this situation where there's not a lot of other options, more is better. So we were able to find, I think, about 28 more spaces. So we now have 357 at-grade parking spaces, 28 garage spaces for a total of 385, which is a ratio of 1.68, which is a healthy parking ratio in our opinion. And then just quickly, I sort of noted these as we went, but the differences, which are minimal from what you last saw, a reduction in unit count down from 233 to 229, given the elimination of the 4 townhomes on the entry drive. And then just a quick note to remind everybody, when we first came to the board, we were at 276 units. So we were down pretty significantly from the original plan. Excuse me. The parking count has increased by 28 units, as I just mentioned. And again, the townhomes were eliminated along the entry drive to make way for a mail and package building. Okay, I wanted to give a quick update on sort of where we're at with the application and what the next steps are in the process. And the timing of these steps are really up to the board, but these are the steps. So first, we just wanted to note that we did complete the LIP application, and that was provided to the board yesterday. The Board of Selectmen at your choosing will then vote to co-sign the application along with us for submission to DHCD. I just want to make a reminder to everybody that the signing of the application that goes into the state is not an approval, right? This is first step in a longer process with a lot of opportunity for comment and inputs along the way. This just allows us to put our application in the state and get the ball rolling on the process. The LIP application would then get submitted by us to DHCD. DHCD would review the application to make sure it's complete, and then they would turn around and, sort of a quirk to the program, they'll send it back to the town and they'll grant you a 30-day comment period, even though clearly you've reviewed it. But it just gives another opportunity for folks to review again, different departments to make comments. And I assume that would generally flow through the town administrator's office, but I think that's at your choosing. That's a 30-day period of time that's open for those comments. When that period closes, DHCD will review the application again with any comments that came back from the town. There's generally a meeting either on site or at another location, perhaps Zoom these days, with DHCD, members of the town, as well as us, the developer, for any final discussion. And then hopefully we'll get to a point where DHCD will issue a project eligibility letter, a PEL, for the project, which then gives us the ability to turn around when we're ready. When we've advanced the plans to the point we need to submit an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals in Bolton for a comprehensive permit. And that kicks off the process that will run through the ZBA. We can go back to this if folks have questions.
Okay.
And then just final,
we will have a 30-day period for the town to officially respond, but that's not the same as the citizens. So if we want to collect citizens' comments, we have to do it within that 30-day period.
Yes, you can certainly during that 30-day period, Mr. Chair, but also obviously at each and every one of the meetings with the ZBA, there'll be opportunity for public comment as well that will be available. And then speaking of public comment, we wanted to post this tonight, very important, that we discussed last time around. We're going to be hosting a community meeting. So this will be hosted directly by us via Zoom, as opposed to the forum that we've been working with through the Board of Selectmen meeting here. Next Tuesday, May 11th at 7 p.m. The link is here below. It is also going to be broadcasted on the Bolton Access TV YouTube channel as well. And I believe that's also then recorded and folks can revisit that presentation at any point in time, is my understanding. My email is below. This is directly to me. So if folks have questions that they want to put in front of us prior to the meeting that we can address at the meeting. You're welcome to, if you simply have a question about the meeting itself, feel free to reach out with an email, and I can certainly provide whatever information you don't have. Happy to do that. And yeah, we're really looking forward to this meeting. I think it's a great opportunity for folks in town to ask questions, raise concerns, raise support. We fully intend to listen, take advantage of those sessions to understand what's important to folks and address what we can that night. And what we can't, we'll take back with us as we move to the next step of design and hopefully incorporate as much as we can into that next level of design. Just a reminder, obviously, we're still at conceptual level, so it'll probably be more taking feedback than providing real concrete answers, but obviously we'll answer everything that we can based on our experience and what we know today about the project, and we'll take copious notes and respond when we can at the appropriate time to questions that we can't answer that night.
Okay, Don Lowe, is this meeting on the town calendar, that if somebody went to the town website and looked at the meeting calendar, that they could get this information?
Don't know that it is on the town meeting calendar. It's not, normally we put boards and committee meetings on there. I didn't ask Jenny to put it up. Jenny, is it on the calendar?
Is there someplace on the town website where people could get this information if it's not on the calendar?
Absolutely. We can get it up on the town website, no problem.
All right, so I know on the town website, there's a section that's got information on the 40B at 580 Main Street. And so this would be one of those.
So I did send a news and announcements about this, I believe.
You did, I got that.
Yep.
But
And
for
there's a
someone
couple
who's not
other-
on that mailing
Yep.
list.
There's a couple other options we have as well. There's an event calendar on the homepage. If you, right next to the public meeting calendar, I'd be happy to put it there. And yes, I could also put it where we put the presentations on the selectmen's page as well.
Okay, that would be great.
Sorry, it took me so long to find my mute, but I had to unshare Jim's screen to do it.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry about that, Jim. And then, Mr. Chair, also, I believe this ran yesterday as well in the local paper. I think it's the Independent. I believe that it ran, I think it was yesterday that it ran.
Okay, so that'll be circulated. The people will be receiving that in the next day or so. Okay.
Good.
Very good.
So that's all we had by way of presentation tonight. And, happy, we have the team on with us as well as usual. Happy to go wherever you'd like to go with it, whether that's Q&A about the project or the process. I think our request tonight would be to the board, if the board is comfortable voting to sign the application, then that's wonderful. If not, then we would just would like to discuss what the process might be to get to that point going forward.
Okay. Well, I'd like to, before I open it to public comment, I want to get comments from the selectmen. I would also like to ask the public that since there is a question and answer meeting on Tuesday, that any comments you make tonight be to the selectmen about issues you think they should consider in terms of participating in this LIP program, as opposed to getting detailed questions about what the project itself might be. So I hope that that's clear. The only comment I would have as I've been stewing over this is it is my understanding that the school district will not go down that driveway to pick up and drop off students because it'll be a public, it's basically private road. And I'm not looking for an answer on this tonight, but as you develop your program, please work with the school district to figure out how children can get safely on and off the bus. You're very close to 495. And, if it can be done without stopping traffic on 117 in both directions, that'd be a plus, but the safety of the children is first. So that's-
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. That's interesting. We have not had that, that condition before at our previous, developments. I believe all of them that I can think of, school buses were able to go into the development. Usually we build a bus shelter, at an appropriate location. And then there's a pickup that's very safe and allows the buses to come off the main road. But that's certainly something we don't have the answer to. That's the first I've heard of that. That's great information, and we'll work with the school district on that throughout the process. Absolutely.
Okay, maybe my information isn't good, but if you could just look at that, it'd be better to resolve that sooner rather than have it pop up later.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the selectmen?
I mean, I fully support the project. I'm definitely in favor of it.
All right,
And
Jonathan?
Yep. So this application just landed a few days ago, and it's 186 pages. And I think we should do what we did with the business plan for the marijuana facility at the Cobham site, and give the public a chance to review this application, posting it online. And I think we need a little bit of time to digest the application, and I'd like to, have town council look at all the waivers that have been proposed in it. They're pretty extensive. And Don, has town council looked at this?
No, Jonathan,
Yeah.
no, it's not been reviewed by council.
Is this application going to the state?
Yes, that's correct. So sorry.
Then what does the town of Bolton have to say about the application going to the state?
So
I don't, if this is our only chance to vote on it.
I know, independent of the vote, what I'm saying is this document is being sent to the state. What does Bolton have to do with commenting and employing our legal team to review it?
It's a very extensive, complicated contract we are signing on to, we are voting on, and we haven't had the benefit of council reviewing it. So there's every reason that we should be looking at it critically.
Well, let me ask the question. Are we signing this document, Don?
You would be signing a letter voting to move the project forward to DHCD. You are not approving the entire application.
Right.
You are endorsing moving the project forward.
Right. Right. And well, let me ask you, Don, I mean, do we have any purview to force the developer to make changes to their document to the state at this stage? I mean, they haven't made an application to the town yet.
To my knowledge, we do not. I could be wrong, but I don't believe that. I mean, we're at the very first stage right now.
Right.
And as Mr. Lambert said, the letter to approve, to endorse the project going forward does not commit the town to the project. But the process can't start without, the LIP process can't start without a letter from the town.
Right. I understand that, but the thing is we have one selectman who thinks we should engage town council and spend money on a document that we have no business having any authority to alter. So I think that's kind of out of bounds here.
We spent 5 months reviewing the business plan of a medical retail establishment at Cobham.
Because we were going to be signing that document.
Now we're rushing.
That's not the same thing.
Into this.
That is not the same
after
thing,
3 or 4 weeks.
It is not the same thing, Jonathan.
That was a legal requirement. This is not a legal requirement.
Exactly.
And it was not a medical establishment.
I respect the wishes of the board. If the board would like to have this reviewed by council, I'll certainly make arrangements to do so.
No, I don't see us wasting any money reviewing council. I think it's fine. It starts the process. It doesn't commit us. It allows the developer to get things moving with the state. This developer hasn't even applied to the town yet. We have a whole process that the town needs to go through in terms of permitting and various boards. That's when we get involved. But one, to hold this up for that, and two, to think that we should be spending money on something that we have no real authority to alter, I think is ridiculous.
Don, our Valerie, our town planner, her previous work experience was in Newton and Weston. Is that correct?
No, it was in Wellesley and Stowe.
Wellesley and Stowe. Okay. Two communities that have a lot going on in both of them. I had an extensive conversation with her earlier this week about what's the town going to give up if we, in terms of process, procedure, or ability to modify these plans if we sign, if we support this local initiative program. She assured me the town is giving up nothing in terms of opportunities to make recommendations or change things later on. So I'm fine with going ahead and endorsing this. The main benefit of this particular approach, the local initiative program, is that the state will then give Wood Partners additional technical support beyond what they would get for a regular 40B if the LIP was not part of it. And I'm all in favor of that. They're showing us early on what they plan to do, how they plan to do it. We'd like to see them get as much support as possible, technical support from the state. And I believe we should support this local initiative program. Any other comments from the selectmen? If not, I will open up to the public. And again, I ask the public to remember that the question and answer session on the details of this project would be on Tuesday. We ask that you keep your questions and comments basically directed to the selectmen about things you're concerned about, or advice, the course of action you think the selectmen should take. Does anyone have a hand up? I can only see 4 faces on my screen, so I'm going to need help if someone's just waving their hands, or
I'll remind people they can use the Alt-Y to raise their hand. We do have one hand raised.
Yeah, raise your hand through the participant thing. Are there any questions or comments from people?
David Bergsbacken has his hand.
All right, David, go ahead.
Hello, this is Dave Bergsbacken, Bolton Woods Way. I just wanted to make a quick comment if there's been thought or considered thought about cars accessing in and out of this new proposed development off of 117. I'm sure there's been thought about it. I'm not familiar with the plan, but I just wanted to raise that as a concern, given that there'll be much more traffic from this new development. Also, pedestrian access from this new development to, say, the Bolton Bean and whatnot, sidewalk access, things like that. It's more just things that are coming to my mind, and I'm not familiar with this project per se, so I'll have to review the documents. But those are things that come to mind that I'd be curious about. Stoplights, traffic, pedestrian access, safety.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if I may,
yes.
Assuming the project goes forward, there would absolutely be a traffic study required.
Okay, thank you. Joan Finger. Joan, I'm not.
Can't hear you, Joan.
I'm going to move on to Lynn Dishler. Joan, if you still want to speak, raise your hand again, but go ahead, Lynn.
Well, I assume that Joan wanted to discuss the community garden. We had some concerns at the previous meeting, access to the community garden. Have the selectmen thought about that since the last meeting?
Well, it's still an open issue. I would say it's unresolved. Personally, I don't see the need to resolve that at this stage of the project, but it's an unresolved issue that's outstanding, as is the traffic and many other things. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's fair to say that the town has done some study on it. I've had multiple conversations with Mr. Lambert as recently as this afternoon regarding that, and we're working on trying to determine what option or options there might be out there for that. But there's a serious, I think it's fair to say, I'm not going to speak for Mr. Lambert, but I think it's fair to say there's a significant interest on Mr. Lambert's part to be supportive of trying to maintain that. It's a work in progress. We don't have an answer on that tonight.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Sure.
We don't have a solution now. I just want to commit to the board and to the folks who are on the call that we are absolutely committed to finding a solution. We in no way want to eliminate or impede, the use of the fields or the community gardens. So, it is an issue that needs to be worked through. There is some complications with it. It's going to take us working together as town and developer to come up with a solution. We believe that there are options that need to be explored jointly, and we're certainly committed to that. So I agree. We don't have a solution tonight, but we commit to working towards a solution. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I don't see any hands. Does anybody else see any hands?
Yep. Dick Heaton and John Finger are raising their hands.
Okay. Dick Heaton.
Good evening. Hi, guys. Good to see you. Dick Heaton from Ballville Road. I wanted to make some comments, excuse me, on the process you're going through. You may have known that I've been a 40B consultant for about 10 years. I specialize in working with communities, particularly selectmen, helping them review 40B projects and making decisions on what they're going to do. I've worked with over 60 communities on over 100 40B projects. What you're doing is very important at this point in time. You're going to make a set of decisions that you have maximum benefit input in today, which you will not have 6 months from now. Specifically, the regulations state that any development in Bolton of more than 120 units can only be built if the town approves it. So, to say it differently, you can deny any project that comes in of more than 120 units unless you approve it. And what you are basically doing as the selectman is you are making a decision to waive that provision and approve a project for 233 units. Now, I happen to think this is a good project, and I happen to think it's a project that we should do. We need it. But I also think that since you're giving up something so valuable, what many communities have done has been to work in arrangement with a developer where they would give up their rights in exchange for something of significance. For instance, I've worked with communities where a sewer line has been put in from the development to another part of town so that sewer access could be funneled into the waste treatment facility that was being built. Some communities have requested significant investments in infrastructure, lights, crossings, things like that, that would normally be spent by the state. the developer could compensate the town or compensate portion of the town for that expense. Soccer fields, baseball fields are frequently put in by a developer when a town requests it. And you have the maximum capability right now to request those things. Once you send the LIP application into DHCD, you basically pass the responsibility for all of the major decisions to the state. We can then deal with all the minor decisions that really are not, they don't have any significance on the project, quite frankly. They may be important to residents, but they're not the real guts of the issue. So I would encourage you not to approve anything this evening until you sit back and take a look at what things you might want the developer to do for you. This is a 30 to 40, $50 million project. A developer can spend $1 million doing things for the community, buy a fire truck, put in a sewer line, anything that the community wants, and bundle it into the costs. If for no other reason, the fact that they have all their equipment on site, they're doing all this work, they can do a lot of things for the community that will not have a significant cost to them, but will have a significant benefit to us. So I would suggest one other comment that most communities do. At this point in time, it's important to get feedback from the Planning Board, the Conservation Commission, the Board of Health on what they would like to see in the project. And that should be the basis of the items that go into the letter to the state.
What are we seeing on the screen right now? All right, can we just go to full gallery mode and stop the screen sharing? I'm sorry, Dick. This is distracting.
I'm trying to unshare. Jim, you may have to stop it on your end.
Okay, let me see. How do I do that? Interesting, it's not giving me an option to stop it, so I'm not sure.
Oh, here we go.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry, Dick. Do you want to back up a little bit?
Sure. I appreciate it, Stan. But the only thing that I would add is that at this point in time, it's very important to get feedback from the important boards and committees in town as to what they would like to see. That's what goes in the letter to the state. The fire department would like to see X. The Conservation Commission would like to see Y. The police chief would like to see something. Those are the things that you can gather relatively quickly in a memo from each one of those groups once they've seen the project, and they can tell you what they would like. But that's the feedback that's important. Once you send the letter in, you lose at least half of your power. Today, you have the maximum ability to influence the project before that letter goes in. And I would encourage you to take advantage of that. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Joan? Joan, you're still not hearing you. I don't know if you've got two microphones and your Zoom is using the wrong one.
Hear me now?
That's it. Yep.
All right, I unhooked the auxiliary mic, which is usually better. I'm speaking on behalf of the community garden. I hope that you have all seen the letter that was signed by 24 gardeners. Our issue is not the garden space per se. And I also want to thank the developer for your willingness to work with us. So it's not the soccer field, it's not the community garden per se, but the access to the community garden. Because as gardeners, and most of us are beyond 60 or more, cannot carry things long distances. And also those of us who are at the garden do not have a place to garden at home. It's either because of shade or because people are in Craftsman's Village or other developments where they don't have their own access. So having an accessible garden and where the vehicles can be close to the garden to bring tools and equipment is key. So I thank Mr. Heaton for your comments, and perhaps it means that this can all be worked out so that we have the accessible space. We've put in a lot of sweat equity. The garden started in 2009, and some of us have been there that long. Catherine, are you still here? Do you have any additional comments for the selectman or the developer? Perhaps not.
Liz Hutchins?
Oh, yeah, this is Jason Hutchins, 75 Monterey Way. I found Dick Eaton's, what he said, very interesting. And one thing I would encourage the selectmen to do is to educate the other boards who may not understand what he just went through and what about, coming up with a list of desires and things like that. I think, his experience is invaluable to the town, and I think communication is key. And so I highly encourage them to continue to take what Dick Eaton just stated and pass it along to the other board members, as well as fire departments and other key, jurisdictions. So that way the community and the town can come together holistically and look at the needs and come up with a list, rather than just sending this to the state just to expedite the process.
Are there any other comments? Okay, back to Stan or Jonathan.
I just want to thank Dick Heaton for bringing up those important, the important powers we have in this. And I think we should take this a little bit slower. I'd ask everybody to look at Alta's project. It's called Riverside with Wayland. That town negotiated through their Public Ways and Safety, Conservation Commission, Board of Health, all the departments weighed in, and Wood Partners, responded really well and came up with a project that is forward-looking and is going to attract people to Bolton that are, looking for housing that is, forward-looking and, meets the community in, many important ways. So I don't think we should vote to approve this tonight.
When I look at this project, I see several things. I see the possibility of relief from 40B projects popping up all around town. In the past year alone, I think we spent over $30,000 researching and looking for alternatives to dealing with 40B projects in this town. My guess is it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've spent on the town has spent on 40Bs over the past 5 to 10 years. So that cost would go away. The concern lots of people have about the fact that the 40Bs tend to be in conservationally sensitive areas would go away. With a project of this size, it's not just the affordable apartments that count toward our exemption, but the entire project, all the apartments, even the ones that are market rate, count toward our 40B exemption. And I think that if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s living in this town, the idea of not having to worry about 40Bs for 10, 15, or 20 years is very valuable. On top of which, this is a commercial enterprise. It's not private residences. It would bring a new source of tax revenue to the town. And if people want to continue to live in a safe, secure town, if people want to have a good school system, the costs are rising there. And as we sit here right now, all of the burden for that financial improvement is going to fall upon residential property owners. So this is a new source of revenue that's significant. There's nothing that's going to make Wood Partners continue to partner with us if we drag this out. I think that if you're the average taxpayer here in town, this is a sweet deal because it takes care of a whole bunch of problems at no cost to the town. The 40Bs go away, the legal fees and engineering studies that we pay for tens of thousands of dollars go away, and the zoning issues go away, the ZBA's workload gets reduced, all that stuff. So I think it's a sweet deal for the average taxpayer here in town, and I'd be afraid to lose this opportunity. So I would like to move ahead with the LIP tonight, if we can.
Well, if, again, Dick, thank you very much for bringing some new information to light. If that is the case, I would say if we wanted to ask the developer to do something in a manner that Mr. Heaton has proposed, I don't think there are a lot of options that we have that we could ask. There were a number that were proposed by Mr. Heaton, or examples, sewer lines, soccer fields, fire truck. I don't think the list is an infinite list. Perhaps as an interim is conditionally approve. I think the project's great. And for everything you said, Mr. Sikansky, I agree with you 110%. And I'm very much in favor of this project. But perhaps we might want to step back and take a week or two to think about, do we want to include something in this letter that says, gee, we would like the developer to do this, or one of these two things for the town, and include that with the application. But I don't know if we can conditionally say, we want to approve and move forward with this, but we'd like to hold back the letter for just a moment or two to possibly include one of the, or something similar to what Mr. Heaton had suggested. That's not to say that ultimately we get that, but if Mr. Heaton is correct, and that gives us a bit more leverage down the line. I certainly don't want to hold Wood Partners hostage to anything, but if we have a little bit of extra leverage now, then perhaps maybe that's something we should look at. If you recall last week, the town did vote to buy an $800,000 fire truck, and gee whiz, that was one of the examples Mr. Heaton had brought up. So how convenient is that? So, Mr. Lowe, are we able to vote to approve moving this forward, but to allow the town, say, a week or two to perhaps include one or more things that the town would like to see relative to Mr. Heaton's suggestion?
I think, are you able to? I suspect you are, but I think of a cleaner approach would be if a majority of the board is not comfortable endorsing the project tonight, I wouldn't, rather than do it and come back in 2 weeks, I wouldn't do a conditional vote tonight. I would defer it to the next meeting at a minimum, and try to, I guess, basically ask me to try to gather as much information as possible. I mean, I've spoken with the chiefs about this, the fire and police chiefs, and Mr. Lambert's spoken with at least the fire chief, but to have between my staff and I, we can reach out to a few different boards and committees to seek some input But so I think your decision point is, do you vote to endorse? Do you vote to sign the letter which endorses the project going forward tonight, or do you defer it to the next meeting?
Okay. Mr. Lambert.
I'm sorry,
if-
Dick, I see you there. When the selectmen finish, I'll come to you.
Thanks.
Mr. Lambert, you're hearing the discussion. Obviously, you know that at least two of the selectmen are very much in favor of this project, and we want to see you succeed. Are there any issues on your part if we were to delay the endorsing of the letter to the state and your application to the state by one meeting cycle?
No, sir. So, as much as we would love this to go forward tonight, we view this very much as a partnership. With Mr. Heaton, who I knew I recognized that name from out there in the industry. I gotta be honest, I don't know, and I don't know that I agree necessarily with that. This is the one shot to put your fingerprints on the project, if you will, because it is going to go through an entire ZBA process where generally during that process, all of the boards are asked for input, department heads, boards, etc. But certainly what I do agree with, and I think is factual, is that we're proposing a project that is larger than what is, I won't call it by right, but if we were coming forward to you with an adversarial 40B, we couldn't propose this many units. We're capped at something much lower. So we fully acknowledge and understand that this is a joint effort here. And so if the board is not comfortable tonight, we do have, limited time to work through the process in general, but 2 weeks is not going to crater that process. We wouldn't want to see it go on and on, certainly. But if the board is more comfortable to gather more information over the next 2 weeks and revisit the vote, then we're okay with that.
Okay. So would I have support from the board if we made a commitment that we would defer this by no more than one meeting cycle to allow Mr. Lowe to gather some information?
Yes.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Or Dick, do you want to speak?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Typically what happens at this point is that the town and the developer sit down and reach agreement on what things they're going to consider. And I don't mean in detail, but conceptually. We're going to agree that we are going to do something in town that will benefit the development and benefit the town. And because it's an agreement, it goes into the letter as an agreement, and DHCD looks at it as an agreement. So it becomes a basis, a bedrock to move forward with a proposal. And it's something that you probably know already, things that you would like to do. And if you sat down with Mr. Lambert, you could figure out whether you can reach agreement on what those things are.
Right.
But that's the best way to do it, is agree with the developer what you're going to do.
Okay.
All right, is that the course the board wants to take?
Yes.
I think it makes sense.
Okay, Joan?
I would hope that one of the things that would be requested is car accessibility toward that garden. And the garden is certainly a wonderful resource for people who are living in the new housing units.
I'd like to repeat something that I said. Mr. Keep referred to the marijuana dispensary. And during that time, there was a lot of issues about Bolton Woods Way. I'd like to say that at that time, what I said was we realized that the people of Bolton Woods Way are greatly affected by this proposal for a dispensary, but the selectmen are negotiating on behalf of the entire town of Bolton. And I feel the need to make that point again tonight, that we need to take into account what's going on at the community gardens and the lacrosse field there. But at the same time, we are representing the people of the entire town of Bolton. And we've got to engage that in that level. Don?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to remind everyone of a couple of things. One, those conversations, as I said earlier, are already ongoing with Mr. Lambert. So those negotiations, if you will, or at least a structure for negotiations, are taking place. As you stated at the last meeting, the issue around accessibility has not been caused by this project. It's DEP regulations, and Mr. Lambert is trying to help us try to work around that, and I'm sure there'll be some expense to that. I actually have updated Joan on that myself, so she knows that well. And the issue is larger than just accessibility, and we're still working through some of those things. So yes, we're trying to do everything we can to maintain the accessibility, but we've got some issues bigger than that over there as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Any final comments from the selectmen?
No, just that let's make the commitment that we'll
Put this on the next agenda again.
exactly and have conversations with the developer prior to that. At least through Mr. Lowe.
Yeah, and a reminder to everybody that there will be a question and answer session Tuesday night at a Zoom meeting. We will post something on the town website to provide a link for those of you who didn't get the email news blast that went out yesterday or the day before.
And will we get a type out of that meeting the way we did about the intersection at Forbush?
Jim, I think that question's for you.
I'm sorry, what was the question, Mr. Keefe?
Just if you can provide notes or a write out of the questions and the answers from your meeting, make
Absolutely.
that public.
Absolutely, no problem.
Okay, Hutchins, sorry, I forgot your first name.
Hi, this is Liz, not Jason
Oh.
this time for moderator way, sorry.
Just having fun with me tonight, but go ahead.
We're trying to trick you. So I just wanted to know if the plans for this development were accessible to the public. I did try to look for them on the website last week and I wasn't able to find them, but I'd love to just take a peek at either the presentation that's been presented before or whatnot before the meeting on May 11th.
Yeah, I believe it's on the town website under the on the page for the select for the select board. That name's already been changed on the town website, but it's not on the home page of the town website. It's on the select board's page of the website.
Okay.
That's correct. That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just if I could quickly, the meeting, our intention in the meeting is actually to start from square one with the presentation that we've been giving to the board. We know that there's going to be some folks there that have not been on the Board of Selectmen Zooms as well. So we're really going to start from the beginning and give the full presentation. Then we'll open it up to Q&A thereafter. So there'll be context behind that for people who haven't seen it before.
Okay, thank you. All right. I want to thank everybody very much for participating. We'll come back to this again and we haven't scheduled our next meeting yet, but at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you all. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night now.
Thank you.
Next is the town administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, the COVID-19 update. At the state level, we are down to 1.37% positivity rate, which is the lowest we've seen in quite some time. The number of hospital cases at this point is the lowest it's been since October. 54.1% of the Commonwealth has received at least one vaccination shot, and approximately 40% are fully vaccinated. At the town level, the report as of tonight is we are still gray. Our positivity rate is 1.17%, so we're lower than the state average. We've only had 5 positive cases in the past 2 weeks, so we've made tremendous progress on the state level, on the local level. And if I recall correctly, I'm going to be very close with this percentage. I believe 61.8% of the town has received at least one vaccination, and 40.1% are fully vaccinated. So Bolton's doing well. We are ahead of the curve, and the state is progressing well as well. So it's we're cautiously optimistic. Regarding the reopening for plans for town buildings, as I've stated previously, the town hall is still planned. I still plan to reopen the town hall fully on June 1st, Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day. Currently, we're still running by appointment only. But if someone hasn't made an appointment because they don't know that they needed to, and they come to the town hall, we're doing the best we can to accommodate them. We certainly want to accommodate as many people as we can. Just an announcement that on Friday, May 14th, will be my monthly virtual town coffee with the town administrator. I'm actually hoping to go to live coffee in June. We'll see how things are progressing, but I think we'll do one more virtual and then see how things progress in June. I'm hoping we can do a safe, socially distanced one in June. It's not like I have dozens of people descending upon me where we need to spread out. I think my record is 10, and I tend to average around 4 or 5. So I think we could safely accommodate that in an outdoor environment. And then I just added on here, review of annual town meeting. My observations are that I think that was the fastest town meeting I've been to since I've been in Bolton. We started at 7 and we were done by 8:20, if not before. I think that goes to, I think one thing that helps that the town moderator started a few years back, I think it was Richard Fly did the first one, which was having the public information session the Monday before, and then local access cable replaying it. I'm under the impression a lot of people see that. Speaking of local access cable, once again, I can't speak highly enough of Nikki and the support that we've gotten out of the local access cable people. Without her support and her team, certainly town meeting would not have run as efficiently, and people would not have been as comfortable attending. I think having the outdoor component I think made a big difference. But all of the articles passed at town meeting. I think, we got our business done. I think we had a good night. And I just wanted to make sure that this was on the agenda for any observations that the selectmen wish to make.
You're on mute, Bob.
You're muted, Bob.
We traditionally have a session with the moderator to go over the town meeting and review it. So perhaps we can add that to the agenda for the next meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One last thing that I would like to note is that as part of our, as we're getting back to as close to normal as we can, one of the COVID protocols that I'll be changing in conjunction with reopening town hall is the use of the signboard at the Houghton building, or the access to letters. Up until now, no one except town personnel have been handling the letters due to safety reasons. Once the town election is completed, we have one message request that we're putting up on the that we, being Jenny, is putting up on the Houghton building, I believe, Houghton building sign. And then come June 1st, we are going to go back to the previous procedures, which is and it's important to note, if you are a Bolton-based 501c3, then you are eligible to put a message up on the Houghton board, depending on availability of space. That's the policy that was established by the Board of Selectmen many, many years ago. And now that we're getting back to a safe environment, we'll be returning back to the practice that we had previously. So unless the board has any questions for me, that's all that I have this evening.
Okay, thank you. Board of Selectmen business, are there any public service announcements?
Not for me tonight.
No. I would just like to say that as chairman of the select board, I was charged with providing Mr. Lowe, the town administrator, his annual review. The process for this is each of the selectmen separately fills out a questionnaire that's very detailed, with asking for rankings and comments in a wide variety of areas. As chairman, I collate that, bring it all together into one summary, one report, and sit down with Mr. Lowe and go over it. It was a very good review. The selectmen feel Mr. Lowe is doing an excellent job in most areas. Where there wasn't 100%, it was mostly in terms of emphasis as opposed to there's really something wrong here. Some people would like to see more things emphasized as opposed to others. I think one area that the selectmen uniformly agreed that Mr. Lowe has done very well is under these very trying circumstances of COVID-19. He's done a very good job of managing the town administration, all the different departments. There's been, and this flows from Mr. Lowe's own conduct. There have been, just despite the stressful times, everybody's been very respectful of townspeople. Everybody's been very courteous. People don't always get the answers they want, but the message is delivered in a professional way. Mr. Lowe leads by example in that way, and the selectmen are particularly appreciative of that being the case in this past year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my pleasure to continue to serve the town. I consider it to be an honor, and I'm deeply grateful of the support that I receive from the three selectmen.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Next is to approve bills and payroll warrants W21-23 and W21-23A. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Roll call, Wysocki,
Aye.
Keep,
Aye.
Sikansky.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next is approval of the meeting dates for the period from now until mid-December. The dates proposed are, and this is what went out in an email to the selectmen suggested a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago. May 20th, June 3rd, June 17th, July 8th, August 19th, September 9th, September 23rd, October 14th, October 28th, November 18th, December 16th. Are those dates satisfactory to the other selectmen? I'm fine with those.
Works for me.
Jenny, we're staying away from school holidays.
Yes, we are. We double check the calendar, and as best we know, we're not bumping into any school holidays.
Okay, thank you. That's fine with me.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the school, to approve the meeting calendar as proposed?
Make a motion, we approve the select board meeting calendar for the second half of 2021 as read.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Roll call, Wysocki,
Aye.
Keep,
Aye.
Sikansky.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next is a letter from the selectmen to Representative Kate Hogan and State Senator Cronin, requesting prioritization of state funding for culvert repairs. This comes out of a conversation that we had with Representative Hogan and Senator Cronin at a select board meeting a couple of weeks ago. And Jenny, do you want to post it for everybody to review?
Sure.
Sorry, what we have here, Mr. Chairman, is the letter to Senator Cronin, but an identical one would go to Representative Hogan.
Okay. I think it's a good letter.
I agree.
Works for me.
Could I have a motion to approve the letter to Senator Cronin and Representative Hogan?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Roll call, Wysocki,
Aye.
Keep,
Aye.
Sikansky.
Aye.
Thank you.
Do we have minutes to review or approve?
We do not.
Okay. In that case, the board will enter executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23B, Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to impact bargaining with Police Union Local 286 IUPA AFL-CIO, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position. The board will return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session. Is that correct, Don? We're not returning just for adjournment, we're returning to open session.
Yes, we are, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Could I have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Roll call, Wysocki,
Aye.
Keep,
Aye.
Sikansky.
Aye.
Thank you.
So we will be entering executive session and returning to open session for a possible vote.